Microplastics are everywhere, affecting babies, people, and there's not a single living being on whole our planet that is not affected by microplastics. And that's something that is shocking for me. But another thing is the whole lot about like lack of regulations on microplastics. So yeah, when it comes to impact of microplastics, there is a huge environmental impact, of course. The primary health impact that usually is talked about is endocrine disruptions, of course.
Okay.
So it's like cancer or different endocrine disruptions or even reproductive problems
Oh,
when it
wow.
comes to
Okay.
plastic. A lot of baby products, they are filled with plastic. Baby toys, all the baby cutlery, it's like 90% of the time they're made out of plastic.
Also, I wanted to ask you for women hygiene because I saw on your social media that you share that tampons, pads, they are made with microplastic. So what are the alternatives?
So yeah, there are so many like these hidden objects with plastic, like chewing gum, for example.
No way, there is plastic in chewing gum.
People are shocked that, yeah, I know, but a lot of chewing gum, the base of chewing gum are made of polyvinyl acetate, if I remember correctly.
Is it only the packaging or is it in the product?
It's the ingredient.
Hey girls, I'm super happy to have you on another episode of Other Than Your CEO podcast. Today we will speak with Dana, who is a researcher in microplastic from Kazakhstan. I want to speak with her about the impact of microplastic on health and what are the alternatives. Hey Dana, I'm super happy to speak with you because you know my audience, they want to have better health, better lifestyle, and yeah, I wanted to understand more the impact on the microplastic on our health and what are the alternatives. Can you explain to us more what you do and who you are?
I'm Dana. I'm from Kazakhstan originally. Yeah, I'm from the RLC area, the region in Kazakhstan where a huge environmental disaster took place in the 60s. That's why I was into environmentalism because it affected my family, it affected the area around, the nature around. So I really wanted to be into sustainability and stuff like that. So I studied my bachelor's in civil and environmental engineering in Kazakhstan. I really wanted to do some research, so I did different research areas and topics, like water pollution, air pollution, risk assessment, and all stuff like this. And one day, my professor wanted me to have my own project, and he was like, "Do you want to do something related to microplastics?" It was a very new topic. It's still a very new topic, but at that time, it was 3 years ago. It was even newer. And to be honest, I wasn't even interested in microplastics. I was like, it's not a topic that we covered during studies, for example. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna read some papers and like find out what's the deal is about microplastic. And honestly, I was so shocked with all the literature and papers that I read. Microplastics are everywhere, affecting babies, people, and there's not a single living being on whole our planet that is not affected by microplastics. And that's something that is shocking for me. But another thing is the whole lot about like lack of regulations on microplastics. Like there is no regulation or limit on discharge of microplastics, on the production of microplastics and stuff like that. And all of these things motivated me to, dive deeper into research about microplastics. And apart from that, I also wanted to share my research with people. So I started creating videos a year ago, in the beginning of 2024. And as you see, people were super interested in those videos. They were super hungry for information about microplastics. So I grew my social media very, very fast, literally from zero to over 100,000 followers. Very long story about me and my research.
Can you explain to us what is the impact of microplastic on our lives?
Start with the definition of microplastics. Are just plastic particles, but smaller. to be called microplastics, they should be less than 5 millimeters in size. We basically divide them into two categories: primary microplastics and secondary microplastics. Primary microplastics are those that were manufactured to be microplastics in the first place. So those are usually used in different industrial paints, or sometimes in different personal care products like toothpaste. Then secondary microplastics are those plastic particles that just broke down from larger plastic objects like plastic bags or plastic bottles, or even plastic clothing, like from polyester or nylon. So yeah, when it comes to impact of microplastics, there is a huge environmental impact, of course. And if something impacts the environment in a bad way, of course, it's going to impact us, because if there's a, if nature around us is bad, of course, it's going to affect us, right? We need a habitable planet to survive, right? It affects climate change, of course, because it's plastic. There's also a lot of different papers on, for example, microplastics affecting photosynthesis rate of plants, are uptaking microplastics from the air and from the soil. And microplastics are blocking the light. And of course, no light means no photosynthesis. And no photosynthesis means no yield, no fruits, no vegetables, and stuff like that. And it's very terrifying for us, because we already facing a lot of, food insecurity. And with microplastics, it can get even worse. I would still say the microplastic research is still in its infancy. So we still have a lot to uncover. So microplastic research has been going on actively for only the last 10 years. And in terms of science, it's quite, so there is still a lot of things that we need to uncover about microplastics. But we already seen some preliminary research results about microplastics, and it's also not good, unfortunately. So microplastics, usually it has a lot of chemicals during the production. For example, a lot of different plasticizer, phthalates, different endocrine disruptors. All these chemicals are on top of plastic, and then when it breaks down to microplastics and goes into us, it can affect our health. So the primary health impact that usually is talked about is endocrine disruptions, of course. So it's like thyroid cancer, or different endocrine disruptions, or even reproductive problems when it comes to plastic. But it's still all preliminary. We don't need to freak out just yet. Target plastic production, plastic waste, and all the stuff like this.
Also, I wanted to ask you for women hygiene, because I saw on your social media that you share that tampons, pads, they are made with microplastic. So what are the alternatives?
When it comes to women hygiene, especially period care products, they're almost always are either lined with plastic or are made of plastic. Like, for example, pads or tampons. They very often, the most commercially available pads and tampons, they are very often lined with plastic, as I said. And unfortunately, they shed microplastics as well. And those microplastics get directly into our body, into our most sensitive areas. So I usually recommend, if that's possible, of course, to switch to 100% cotton pads. And there are also some cotton tampons available on the market. But of course, it's not available for everyone, unfortunately. So if you don't have a choice, don't freak out. Don't, of course, start like worrying too much, because stress is always not good. But if you can phase out those plastics and swap, then that would be great.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask you, as we are women, we want to protect our family, and there is microplastic in our kitchen, bathroom. what are the alternatives? Can you also give us some example where there is microplastic?
I would say first is to try educate yourself on plastics, because that would be like the most efficient thing, to find out what are plastics, what are the different types of plastics, and how they can hide in all the regular objects that we don't know
Okay.
about. Like for example, paper cup, right? It's
Yeah.
called paper cup, so you think it's made out of paper, but inside it has a very thin plastic lining, and
Okay.
that sheds microplastics every time you pour hot liquids into it. And you usually drink
Oh,
hot coffee or hot tea with your paper cup, and that makes it release a lot of microplastics right into a drink that you drink.
okay.
So yeah, there are so many like these hidden objects with plastic, like chewing gum, for example.
No way, there is plastic in chewing gums.
People are shocked at this. Yeah, I know, but a lot of chewing gum, the base of chewing gum are made of polyvinyl acetate, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
and that is plastic.
I didn't know. Do you have other example like this?
Some tea bags are also made out of plastic,
Okay.
usually nylon, also release microplastics. What else? Some soda cans, clothing, polyester, nylon, acrylics. They're all plastic names. Uh, what else?
Also, you say that there is plastic in the space?
I don't know who came up with the idea of using microplastics as an ingredient in different personal care products, but someone did, and right now they use microplastics as ingredients, and usually it's something like toothpaste, face scrubs. I think in some face creams they also use in some different
But
maybe hair conditioners, lipsticks.
but Dana, I have a question. Is it only the packaging or is it in the product?
It's the ingredient used as like emulsifier or something like that, for example, to give a specific texture to your product. For example, for a face scrub, you need something to scrub your face, then you use microbeads. Or for example, your cream is too watery, so you use more microplastics, so it's more thick.
I thought it was about the packaging, so I was like, okay, if I change the object and if I take one without the plastic packaging, I thought it was okay. But now I know it's the ingredients. I'm like, okay, I need to know what is in it, so I need to read the composition. Thank you so much because you're bringing such awareness. I didn't know. And do you have any advice for children?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question because a lot of baby products, they are filled with plastic. Baby toys, all the baby cutlery, it's like 90% of the time they're made out of plastic. Up plastic things to something else like wood or something like that. I would
Okay.
recommend starting with kitchen and cutlery. So for example, a plastic toy will release less microplastics than, for example, a plastic, I don't know, cup or plate, because you put hot food into that and then it breaks down into microplastic right into food and then you eat it. With toy, it's a bit different. You're not exposing that to heat, sometimes not even light. And if your kid is a bit older, he will not put it into mouth and stuff like this. So I will recommend starting with your kitchen.
And I have a question because we spoke about toothpaste, for example, and what, how, how can I choose like the right toothpaste without microplastic in it? How should I know which one to choose?
That's a bit difficult. Microplastics, there are like hundreds names for different microplastic types that can be used as ingredients, so I cannot just tell you what are.
Oh, so there is several names of microplastic.
Because there are different types of plastic, right? We don't have
Okay.
just polyethylene, for example. We have polyethylene, polyester, polyethylene terephthalate, all the different plastic. There are like hundreds of them.
That's why it's not easy to understand what we have in our ingredients, you know, because we don't know the name of plastic, and as you say, if there is several names, okay, we know. So okay, it's important for us to have more awareness and to educate ourselves on it for sure. Also, I saw that you have an application, so can you tell us more about it?
I do have an app. It's called Microplastic Free. It's about like what are the microplastics, what the impact and stuff like this. And then there's also another part, a scanner part that makes it easier for you to differentiate different plastics and what is plastic and what is not. You can just take a picture of quite literally anything, and the scanner will tell you what's the microplastic risk score. For example, you can take a picture of the ingredient list for a toothpaste, and then you will see if it has microplastics or not, for example.
Do you want to share anything else with our Other Than Your CEO audience?
I would say important thing that I always mention is not on like cutting your plastic footprint and your plastic consumption is very, very important, but it's also very important to ask for different regulations on plastic and limits on plastic production, because that's a major impact that we can make as individuals as well. Currently, we don't have any like production regulations or even any regulations or limit on discharge of microplastics. For example, as I said, I worked in wastewater treatment plants in different countries, and none of them have regulations on how many microplastics can be discharged into our water. So they can discharge as many microplastics as it's possible. It's not going to be monitored or regulated by anyone. That's quite something that we need to target. So try and raise awareness about microplastics. Family with your, if you see some petitions going around about microplastics, sign them and try to be active in that area as well, because that's like a major impact that we can make as individuals as well.
Wow, thank you so much, Dana, for this interview. It was super interesting. I learned a lot of stuff, and I hope that my audience will too. I will share below your social media. Have a nice day. Bye bye.